The Japantown Peace Plaza in San Francisco, California, is a central hub for much of the Japanese community in the area. It is located in what was the heart of San Francisco's Nihonmachi, or Japanese People's Town. The first wave of Japanese immigrants began arriving in San Francisco in 1869 and settled in places like Chinatown. By the 1880s, Japan eased up on immigration restrictions, so the number of Japanese that came to America grew rapidly. The later waves of immigrants settled south of Market Street, but many relocated to a north-central San Francisco area called the Western Addition after the 1906 earthquake and fire displaced thousands of residents. By the 1920s, the Western Addition residents had established a prosperous, independent community that, by 1940, boasted 200 plus Japanese-owned businesses and 5,000 plus residents. However, during World War II, every person with Japanese ancestry was forcibly removed from their homes and sent to incarceration camps following President FDR's orders. Executive Order 9066 displaced more than 120,000 Americans with Japanese ancestry. Due to all of the empty space available, Japantown and the Fillmore was quickly filled by war industry workers and also became known as the Harlem of the West due to the African American population and thriving jazz district. Following the war, many people returned to Japantown to try and reestablish themselves within the neighborhood. Japantown regained a reduced but lively sector at Post and Buchanan Streets. However, due to demographics pointing out the area as blighted and in need of slum clearance, the San Francisco Redevelopment Agency administered federally funded Western Addition redevelopment projects A1 and A2. From the late 1940s to 1960, about half of the newly reestablished Japantown will be demolished for one of the first major, federally funded urban renewal projects in the United States. These redevelopments would eventually displace thousands of residents and demolish dozens of blocks of history. In 1968, the Peace Plaza, a product and centerpiece of the A1 redevelopment, was completed. This newly established Nihonmachi, aka Japantown, is now one of 3 remaining historic Japantowns in the United States. The Peace Pagoda is one of Japantown's most famous aspects. Designed by Japanese architect Dr. Yoshiro Taniguchi, this 5-tiered concrete structure stands at 100 feet tall. Its construction was completed in 1968, and it is located in the open area of the Peace Plaza in between Geary Boulevard and Post Street. The pagoda was a gift from sister city Osaka, Japan, as a symbol of friendship and peace between the two countries. The Peace Pagoda in Japantown is actually one of many peace pagodas all around the world. These Buddhist stupas, usually dome or bell-shaped structures, originated in India and were typically used as a storage for sacred relics. The pagoda form was then adopted by the Buddhist tradition and made its way to China in the 3rd century and Japan in the 6th. The stupa form was then fused with the architecture of Chinese watchtowers and resulted in a multi-tiered structure with protruding roofs and a distinct finial on top, which represents the point at the center of the universe that connects heaven and earth. The establishment of many of the peace pagodas after World War II were because of Nishidatsu Fuji, a Buddhist monk and founder of the Nipponzan Myohoji Buddhist order. He began constructing peace pagodas all around the world after being inspired by his meeting with Mahatma Gandhi. In 1947, he decided to devote his life to promoting nonviolence and began constructing the pagodas as shrines to world peace in the hopes that they will exert a calming influence on an otherwise chaotic world. The pagodas were built in Japanese cities such as Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where the atomic bombings took place. By the year 2000, 80 peace pagodas have been built all around Asia, Europe, and the United States. Nowadays, the pagoda has become a popular tourist attraction. Hundreds of people come by each day to stop and take their pictures, especially around this time of year when the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. It is the dominant architectural structure of Japantown. Aside from the pagoda being a popular attraction, the Japan Center boasts many places inside to go and explore. Sushi, crepes, books, and karaoke bars are just some of the many paths one can take when adventuring inside the Japan Center. Upon my visits to the pagoda, I was able to learn more about one event in particular that meets every Tuesday from 5 till 8 underneath the pagoda for an event that they call KG Tuesday.
My name is Jake Weens. I live in Oakland, California, and I head up the KG Tuesday meetups here in San Francisco, California at the Pagoda in Japantown.
Coincidentally enough, the reason that people meet in Japantown is because of the traditional Japanese skill toy known as kendama. The kendama comes equipped with 3 cups, a ball, and a string. The primary objective of the game is to catch the ball in all of the cups and possibly the spike if you're lucky. I've come to learn and witness that the possibilities are pretty much endless from there, and most of what you do with it is up to you.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god!
So it's here, I think the easier one is...
So kendama is a very traditional game from Japan. It's been around for a little over 100 years. And kendama came to the US through freestyle sports like skating, rollerblading, snowboarding. So it kind of adapted a freestyle mentality that formed what I call modern kendama play, which incorporates a lot of the aesthetics of skating into a very traditional game like kendama. And in 2008 I started playing, and by 2010 we were doing kindergarten meetups in my backyard. And throughout the years we evolved into our friends' backyards, and we were doing events and contests. And somehow we ended up here in Japantown every single Tuesday from 5 till 8. And what's amazing about it is that no matter where you're coming from, you can always come here and play kendama, and there will always be someone here playing kendama. For 3 years, I don't think there's been an empty Tuesday. And we've gone from venue to venue, but no matter what, every single Tuesday, there's always someone here playing at KG Tuesday. And having it at the Pagoda really opens it up to a lot of passerbys being able to see what kendama is.
Jake is a Kendama USA professional as well as a co-owner of Grain Theory. Since 2013, he has made his living solely off of kendama and even travels all over the country and internationally because of it. The cool part about it is that anybody can play. Whether you are 6 years old, 13, 21, 44, or even 90, kendama is one of those things that breaks down barriers like age, race, or skin color. This simple wooden toy can form lifelong friendships, provide a creative outlet, or present opportunities that may not have been presented to you otherwise.
The Japantown Peace Pagoda is a really incredible place for the fact that it's kind of the center of the Japanese culture here in San Francisco. The pagoda is a symbol of Japanese architecture. It's also the Peace Plaza that symbolizes the peace between the Japanese and the US. And being a kendama player, traveling to Japan so many times, the Peace Plaza and just the Japantown vibe is pretty on point with some spots in Japan. So having the opportunity to host a kendama meetup here in Japantown with all the kendama players kind of gives that vibe of playing kendama in Japan.
Because of its popularity amongst the Japantown community as well as people visiting from all over the world, the Historic Preservation Committee submitted a draft report in 2015 to declare the Peace Pagoda a landmark. The document can be found on sfplanning.org and includes a rich history of Japantown, the Peace Plaza, and the Peace Pagoda. Aside from the small events at the Pagoda, one of the main events that Japantown is known for is their Cherry Blossom Festival.
It's a really special year for the Northern California Cherry Blossom Festival for the fact that it is the 50th year anniversary that the festival has been going on. It's a celebration of Asian arts and culture right here in Japantown, and for the past 3 years we've had the Sakura Classic. The Sakura Classic is the Northern California Kendama Championships, and we've been so thankful to have the Consulate General of Japan in San Francisco donate their time on stage as well as donate their booth space to the kendama crew so we can have an amazing contest. And what's great about it is that we're actually able to share passionately a piece of the Japanese culture here at the festival. And it started off with just a few people coming out and playing, and now last year there was over 400 people that came out and attended. We had over 90 competitors, and we had people come in all the way from Japan. So it's something that's really gaining a lot of traction, and the Sakura Classic is turning into a staple point of the Cherry Blossom Festival within the past 3 years. The other amazing part about the Cherry Blossom Festival is that it happens right here in Japantown underneath the Peace Plaza Pagoda. So the Peace Plaza Pagoda becomes a symbol for the Cherry Blossom Festival, for Asian arts and Asian culture right here in Japantown, because you can see it from everywhere in the city.
The Japantown Peace Pagoda is a symbol of the evolution of the Japanese culture here in San Francisco. From Japan to Japantown, the pagoda is a physical monument to what Japanese Americans have experienced since coming here. On the wall next to the entrance of the Japan Center, there is a board describing the major events that have happened in Japantown since the late 1800s, when the first wave of Japanese immigrants started coming here. At first, the Peace Pagoda and the Japan Center in general were probably just reminders of the fact that dozens of blocks of history were destroyed. From the start of the redevelopments, the ethnic communities were alarmed and formed oppositions to the plans. The rights of small business owners and the protection of minority groups were just some of the concerns about the redevelopment. Even though the pagoda was thought of as a symbol for Japanese-American friendship, much like how the Statue of Liberty symbolizes French-American friendship, much of the now older Japanese-American population living there still remember it as one of the reasons for all of the social and demographic change. However, the reason for its construction is due to the scar of the forced removal still lingering on the conscience of the city. The city officials felt that a center of exchange would be a symbol that the past is the past. The name of the pagoda and the plaza itself constructs a peaceful demeanor all around the pagoda. Throughout the day, the plaza itself is a very relaxing place to hang out. The hustle and bustle of the busy city life mixed in with the sounds of chatter and some of the nature create a peaceful atmosphere. Along with its peaceful purpose, the pagoda sought to convey the modern and traditional combination of Japanese architecture. These purposes are still recognized today, as the Japan Center is a glimpse of what Japanese culture is like. The existence of not only the plaza, but Japantown as a whole is a tribute to the perseverance of the people who created and sought to maintain its heritage throughout all of the physical, social, and demographic changes that occurred throughout its history.
Gave you constant shelter and a bed to keep